It has been 2 years since Apple AI has launched, and we all know that it sucks. For starters, it is not good at multitasking and it cannot answer complex questions. But now that I have an iPhone, I made use of whatever AI features it has to offer. And in this video, I'm going to show you 5 features that Apple AI has to offer, and maybe you can use it for yourself. And to my surprise, some of these features are actually useful. At this point, if you're using an iPhone 15 or any older versions of iPhones, please revisit this video when you have updated to an iPhone 17, 17 Pro or maybe 18 in the future, because Apple Intelligence is not supported in iPhone 15 and the older versions of iPhone. Alright, moving on, let's have a look at how Apple AI actually works and why it performs poorly when compared to other models out there. And if you don't want to learn that, please look into the chapters and go straight to the features, because you can do that. Alright, to understand this, let's have a look at Apple's onboard AI, which is at the core of Apple Intelligence. The good news is that most of the processing happens on your device itself. This means that your data is not sent to a cloud server somewhere in a warehouse. All the processing happens on your device. If you're someone who cares about privacy, Apple does not look into your messages or your data inside your phone to train their AI models, which I think is a good thing. Also, another thing to note is that Apple AI works on up to 3 billion parameters, which sounds quite a lot, but it is not in reality. Most models out there, like your Claude and ChatGPT ones, run on billions, like hundreds of billions and trillion parameters. Compared to that, the Apple AI model is quite small. And it has to be small because it needs to run on your device, and the memory on your device is not that much. I learned this the hard way because when I enabled Apple AI on my device, boom, on-device data gone. Well, this sounds disappointing, but this is what most smartphone manufacturers do. The best devices from Google and Samsung run on smaller models that are up to 1 to 3 billion parameters. And basically these models work to understand your routines and patterns and kind of help you in those little tasks. If the request is bigger, it cannot be processed on your phone. It gets sent to a bigger model situated in some cloud server somewhere in a warehouse. And this is where Apple struggles. Currently, Google's tech is much better than Apple's when it comes to bigger, larger models. And speaking of cloud computing, Apple has introduced something called as private cloud compute, which is basically a bigger large language model, again, in some Apple warehouse somewhere. This basically means that they use their own secure servers for heavy AI tasks, which your phone can't handle. Apple's private cloud compute is currently under development with Google's Gemini, because they are not very good at the moment. And don't expect significant results in the next 6 months. I'm not saying this. This is Apple's press release from early June, which states that the new meaningful upgrades to Apple's AI ecosystem will happen with iOS 27, which will release in the next 6 months, maybe with iPhone 18 later this year. On the positive note, Apple promises that your data is always secure in their Apple servers and even Apple cannot access it. That's their claim and it sounds good, but hey, Apple, we are watching you. And now we know why Apple AI does not perform that well. To solve this issue and to address this performance gap, also the bad PR they got from the AI lawsuit that they lost over the last year, they bring in ChatGPT integration, and this is where the fun begins. And to enable it, all you have to do is go into Settings, Apple Intelligence and Siri, Extensions, and ChatGPT integration. It will be switched off for privacy at the start. You just need to switch it on. And what happens is that when Siri cannot answer any complex question, Siri can ask ChatGPT for help on tough questions. When Siri gave me a long and detailed response, I was like, wait, hold up. Is that you? Did you just get smart? And that was amazing. And with this, let's look at 5 ways how you can use ChatGPT and Apple AI to your advantage. At this point, if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, engage with this channel, whatever, because it really helps. Thank you. Alright, so the first feature I want to talk about is the enhanced sound for voice recording. And this is one of the features that I truly enjoy using. So you can find this feature in the Apple voice notes and they call it the Apple Studio Voice. So I personally find it challenging to hear my own voice in a recording. But hey, if you're like me, you will appreciate this feature. I recorded a simple voice memo in my garage, which has a lot of reverberations. But now that I have an iPhone and I want to make use of whatever features that it has to offer, I have to make sure that I use whatever features it has to offer. And in this video, I'm going to show you. And boom, the sound quality improves dramatically. Now my sound is a bit more bassier, a bit more richer, and it also does a good job of removing any reverberations. You can also customize the speed and intensity of this effect. And finally, it has been a game changer for me because I can then listen back to my own voice without feeling cringed out, to be honest. And with that, it's time for the next feature, the AI integration with Shortcuts app. So I've been a big fan of the Shortcuts app and Siri integration with the Shortcuts app, wherein I can automate bunch of my day-to-day tasks and then just say the command to Siri and she will run it in the background. Well, now Apple allows you to inject AI and ChatGPT straight into the Shortcuts app. All right, as an example, I've got a Siri shortcut called as Take Me Home. And what it basically does is that whenever I get into my car and I say, Siri, take me home, it pulls out my location and it plots the route to my home. Then it will send my precise location to my wife with the estimated time of arrival. At this stage, I let ChatGPT draft a message, and then it also plays my road trip Spotify playlist. And then you can take it to the next level by letting AI summarize your day and then plan the next day ahead, can look into your calendar, tell you what your priorities are, tell you which meetings you have to attend tomorrow so that you're prepared. So you can do a whole bunch of things here. I've just got this as an example, which I use quite regularly, especially if I am coming back from a late night hangout with friends or a soccer game or something like that. If you want to know more such shortcuts that I try to use in my Shortcuts app, let me know. I'll create a separate video for that. And obviously there's a huge Shortcuts community out there, and I have saved a link in the bio if you want to check them out as well. And most of these shortcuts that I'm telling you is kind of inspired from someone else's work from this kind of community. So I urge you to have a look into your own life and see if you can automate these kind of things. And I'm pretty sure there is a bunch of information out there on the internet to help you throughout the way. And obviously you can send me a message and I'll try to help you out whenever I can. All right, so building on from the Shortcuts app, let's talk about the AI writing tools that Apple has to offer. So straight out of the box, you get 3 types of writing superpowers straight into your keyboard. You get rewrite, summarize, and proofread. And if you have switched on the ChatGPT extension, you can get the compose feature, wherein it can compose text from scratch. And to be honest, these features are clutch. And it can save you when you are, quickly organizing your thoughts or writing a text to someone and you just want to edit it really quickly. So for example, I've written a quick text to my colleague, and then I'll just select all of this text and I'll just say rewrite. And obviously I can tell AI the tone of the rewrite. So for example, if I want it to be polite, I'll just say write it in a more polite way. And then, it'll just come up with something. And it will save me time of thinking and rewriting stuff. So good. Another feature is Summarise. So if you have got a huge wall of text or something, I don't know, like a big message that you're reading, you can just select all the text and just hit Summarize. And when you do that, it will summarize all the text in like clear format. Now, the thing to note, like I had said in the past, is that it misses out on a bit of detail and a bit of nuances, especially if you're using Apple AI. So make sure that you proofread things from time to time so that you understand that what you're reading from the summary generated by Apple AI is similar to what you are reading in reality. At this stage, you can use ChatGPT integration and compose text out of thin air, especially if you want to respond to the huge text that you have received, or if there's something that you're reading and you want to summarize it and send it to a colleague, you can do that using the compose feature. Another thing to note is that Apple AI uses broad strokes and generalizes a lot. So maybe when precision is not important, use Apple AI. But if you want precision in your text, then maybe use ChatGPT or any other large language model software that you have on your phone or your desktop, wherever. So the next feature I want to talk about is visual intelligence and visual lookup. This is Apple's version of Google Lens. The other day I pointed my camera towards a stud finder and asked Siri, tell me what it is and where to find it, and it gave me a good explanation. So then I had a light bulb moment. I could use the visual intelligence to identify stuff. And then what I did was create a shortcut, and this shortcut allows me to take a screenshot of anything that I find interesting, and then the visual intelligence will look it up and tell me where I can find it. It will take all that information, save it in the Notes app under places to visit. And if I am in a mood to explore something new, I just go into the Notes app and then I see a bunch of things that I liked randomly and I would want to explore more. So it helps me a bit in organizing these kind of thoughts as well, and I find it quite useful. Well, it might not be at a level of Google Lens or something similar, but it integrates with my Shortcut app and it helps me out whenever I want to organize something. So I give it a thumbs up. And this brings me to the last thing that I like is the smart notification summary and notification priority. So now with Apple's AI, what I can do is I can prioritize and summarize the notifications. So I've got the summarize and prioritize notifications switched on throughout the day, wherein my notifications get prioritized. If the notification, let's say, is from the doorbell app or the security cam app, then it gets higher priority. And if it is from like a fitness app, or if it is a marketing stuff, it will just summarize the notification, and then maybe I don't even have a look at it and just clear it out. And if the notification has a really long text, it will just summarize it in 2 or 3 lines, and then you can quickly read it and see if you want to open it or not, or if it is something important. And it helps me a lot because by the time I go to the bed, I don't have to go through 100 notifications or whatever. I just have to look at the priority notifications and then go into them if I need to. It feels like having a personal assistant who kind of pins and organizes the notification based on your priority list and the app it comes from. But you need to make sure that sometimes Apple AI kind of messes it up because its understanding of priority is different to yours. So if you have found such notification which you think is a priority, but Apple AI doesn't think it's a priority, so you can go and tweak or remove the app from the summary list so that whenever you get a notification from that app, it comes up there as it is and doesn't get into the prioritize and summarize kind of AI thing. But yeah, it's a handy tool to have. I use it all the time and it saves me a lot of time by not looking into stuff that are not important. Obviously, there are other features such as Genmoji, Image Playground, Magic Erase, and stuff like that I have used and I've found it to be hit and miss most of the times. So I will not talk about them today because I don't use them, I don't like them, and I think that there are better alternatives out there. Let me know in the comments below if you have used any of these features and what are your thoughts about it, and if there's something that has improved that I have not looked at, I will have a look at it and give you my feedback. So those are some AI tricks that are hiding in your Apple device, in your iPhones and iPads. After using them for a bit, here's my take. Apple AI is not mind-blowing, it is not versatile, and it is not groundbreaking by any means, especially if you compare to your flagship Google and Samsung smartphones. I find myself using the AI features quite a lot, especially the Shortcuts app. And to me, it feels like it adds an extra dimension to your iPhone experience or your Apple experience in general, wherein it brings a bit of a fresh air into the Apple ecosystem without you having to think a lot about it. All right, that's it. My time's up for today. Thank you very much for listening to me. Please do hit the bell icon, leave a comment, subscribe, and all of those things. You know what to do. But yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.